So this week for kitchen chemistry, I was unfortunately unable, due to our stupid virus, to be able to do the lab like I normally would have. But I still want to be able to submit a video about our topic this week. So I made a few pieces of paper up with some notes on it, almost like giant flashcards that I thought I would talk about a little bit, talk about leavening agents. Leavening agents are agents that give rise to a baked good. So if you've followed me on Facebook for any significant time, you know how much I love history. I absolutely love history. And my favorite part of history to learn about is the history of food. And one of the things that we use, that historians use, archaeologists use, to learn about a group of people or a culture from times past is food. How did they cook? What did they cook? What ingredients did they use? What did they have available? And you can go through history and see the progression of civilization simply by looking at their food, their ingredients, and how they cook it. So that's where I wanted to start this video. I don't have, like I said, a lab that I can show you the different effects that leavening agents have on, but that doesn't mean that I still shouldn't provide what I can given the circumstance. I have a responsibility to my own education to do that. So my first giant flashcard is right here. The first breads were unleavened. They were likely like flat tortillas, which stands to reason. As we learned, as a people, as human beings, about food, we didn't really have a lot of deeper science back then. And of course, I don't want to pretend like people of times past were ignorant and were some geniuses, because that's not true. Given what they had, they were pretty smart people. So, like my first flashcard here says, first breads were unleavened and likely resembled what we know as a tortilla. This probably doesn't come as much of a shocker, but Egyptians did it first. As early as 2300 BC, they used wild yeast from the air to help with like the density of bread, probably bread at that point, but also other big things. They started to learn about what yeast was and how it's this naturally occurring microorganism. The next step, now we're jumping a lot of years. Like when I say a lot, I mean like hundreds, if not thousands, okay? Cream of tartar. Cream of tartar. And I made a special little note that I hope you all can see. Thank you, wine. Cream of tartar was used for a long time as a leavening agent. Why do I say thank you, wine? It's a great question. As a big fan of wine myself, cream of tartar is a byproduct of winemaking. Chemical leavening was introduced in the late 1700s. Chemical leavening, let me give you an example of chemical leavening. Chemical leavening essentially is a leavening agent that is not naturally occurring. Now, this one's kind of gross. As I read about this, I said to myself, this one's kind of gross. Pearl ash was a popular chemical leavening agent. It is a byproduct of ashes from wood. It was used for a long time. Now, the newest development in leavening agents happened in the late 1970s. A lot of us are going to be very familiar with this. Now, I will say this. As a person of history, I was rather surprised that I just assumed that instant yeast was a bit older than the 70s. I kind of made the assumption it would have been like 1920s or 30s, but actually, Newest development in leavening agents is the instant yeast. Came out late 1970s. Now, there are 3 categories or types of leaveners, and they are physical, biological, and chemical. First one I want to talk about is one that is found in all baked goods. It is not added, and it's not quite biological. It is steam. Now, steam is very interesting because steam expands 1,600 times more than the water that it comes from. 1,600 times more. That's a lot. Now, carbon dioxide is created either by chemical or biological. Carbon dioxide, I made a note on my Facebook page that I was making this video, and I said this. If leavening agents had a mascot, it would be Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, "I want to pump you up," because that's what it does. It creates and expands against the structures that are found within our baked goods. If you remember my video from last week, I talked about how much structure the eggs build. Well, carbon dioxide works with those structures and essentially expands or pulls apart. It gives the airiness that we all like. It gives rise, as the obvious statement there. And it is something that we're all very, very used to. An example of a non-leavened bread, like the most common example of bread without a leavening agent, is crackers. And the most common example of one is your Wonder Bread, or whatever brand you like. I hope it's better than Wonder Bread. So anyhow, I know this video wasn't as exciting or as informative as last week, but given my circumstance that I found myself in due to the stupid virus, I still wanted to submit a fun video and talk about some of the things I've learned. Obviously, we covered a lot more than that, but I hope you enjoyed my video on leavening agents.